Get ready!
Warning! The following video contains material showcasing the benefits of not having to worry about monetization. This includes animated violence to an almost absurd level and frequent exposure of female breasts, also animated. If you do not wish to see this subject matter, please go do something else and leave this video running so I can get more attention time. Viewer discretion is advised. I always find it weird when people say animation is solely for children, never able to reach above the artistic heights of Saturday morning cartoons and Disney movies about princesses. It's the reason Spider-Verse is the lowest grossing Spider-Man movie to date, despite being scientifically proven as the best superhero movie ever made. I especially find this a weird thing to say about anime, which most people not familiar with the medium seem to think consists solely of kids' shows with a toy or video game tie-in, or the clearly adult material that's somehow worse just because someone drew it and probably involves tentacles at some point. Maybe this is because most people only have experience watching Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon when they themselves were kids and stopped looking for new shows, so they just assume all anime is the same thing. Even back in the 90s, this was far from true. Yes, there were things like Samurai Pizza Cats and Cardcaptor Sakura, but there were also shows like Serial Experiments Lain, Cowboy Bebop, Berserk, and the go-to staple best anime ever for pretentious neckbeards, Neon Genesis Evangelion. Then there's all the movies that made their way to the West during the decade, like Ghost in the Shell, Perfect Blue, freaking Akira, and our subject for this video, Ninja Scroll. While this movie isn't talked about or analyzed as much as the other titles I listed, it seems to be a pretty common inspiration for childhood trauma in the anime YouTuber community. Try to sneak some late night TV when they're a kid so they could watch Toonami or something? Chances are good that's how they saw Ninja Scroll. Even with that in mind, it's not something really all that scary or spooky to talk about in October, so that'll do. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at one of the most infamous anime movies to come out during the early 90s. It starts out on a bridge, the only noise brought by the wind, and we're shown the main character of this movie, Jubei Kibagami. He's just walking down the lonely road, the only road that he's ever known, while shadowy figures prepare to attack. The attack commences and Jubei doesn't really care, he just keeps eating that jelly donut. A jelly donut he throws into the air while he effortlessly defeats the assailants and catches it moments later. I kinda love when characters do that. Just from this first minute, it's pretty easy to see how much effort was put into drawing the fight scene, so I won't really dwell on it. From their exchange, we learned that Jubei was hired for very little money despite how clearly skilled he is, which means he's either underselling himself or has integrity. He looks to the sky, runs off, mistranslated title card. Yeah, this story has nothing to do with a scroll. Go figure. This is such a great intro, clearly inspired by old Daigeki movies in the way it focuses just on atmosphere and clean action to convey our main character is cool. Just a good opening, I appreciate it. Then some shadowy figures ride some horses in the rain and ew. Some zombie-looking girl just walks up to two chatting villagers and tells them the plague killed everyone and drops dead. Talk about rude. Not only that, she's being manipulated by this shady guy in the bushes, so extra rude. Still, it's enough to convince the villagers to abandon their homes and this fat guy to send his ninjas to the location to scope things out. While they're laying out a plan, a woman named Kagero walks in and convinces them to let her join by cutting some of her hair off. One second. Oh, so that's what it means. As anime dictates, she has to wear a skimpier outfit than any male character, but I guess it kind of makes sense in historical context. I guess. Also, as anime dictates, she'll be the only one to survive as the rest of the team is wiped out. This gives us our first look at what the villains are capable of, with one using some kind of magical metal string to electrocute people, and the other using a huge and highly impractical weapon to instantly kill 4 supposedly well-trained ninjas. After playing the same shuriken barrage twice, the assailant is revealed to be completely unharmed, cause he's basically the thing. Despite this, Kagero dives in to attack him and instead finds herself on the ground, not running away for whatever reason. She does eventually, after her leader gets his arms torn off and drank from. Gross. Anyway, she's soon captured, and there's a full minute of the rock guy just... Ew. Why? I'm not kidding, this is a full minute. It's gross. Then Jubei interrupts... What? Was he there the whole time? Whatever. After a bit of provocation, we get to see some very smoothly animated weapon twirling that's just kind of mesmerizing, and Jubei throws a needle into the guy's eye because, you know, that's logical. He and Kagero run away and... Okay, no, how does the weapon even do that? That makes no sense. But before Rocky starts pursuit, the pretty boy from earlier tells them they have a mission to do and he shouldn't get sidetracked. Don't know why he didn't say that earlier. Oh, wait. And now we're at the point where the movie really begins. Because after Kagero reports the death of her squad, Jubei's jumped by Tessai and the battle begins. His name's Tessai, by the way. Yeah, I know I was just giving the play-by-play, but that was just the setup and misdirection for what the movie's actually about. Fighting. That's it, really. The whole movie is just watching Jubei kill things with crazy powers using his cunning and skill, which is something an actual ninja would do. Now, this might sound strange if you think of ninjas like one-man armies with no sense of stealth casting magic spells with sign language, but shinobi were actually spies whose main task was gathering information or infiltration. If they fought, they were efficient and only used what they needed for combat. Jubei's only weapon is his sword, which he attached a string to for retrieval and psyching out opponents. That's what an actual ninja would do, and the fact nearly all his enemies in this movie have some kind of supernatural power, it's great to see him win through his own normal abilities. I mean, the first fight ends with Tessai getting his fingers cut off and his own weapon lodged in his head. That's the kind of movie this is. And this fight is the real starting point, since some old guy tells Jubei he just killed one of the 8 demons of Kimon, an elite unit of freaky ninja people with crazy powers serving someone called the Dark Shogun who will stop at nothing to kill him. It doesn't take long to find the next one, a lady with some really sweet snake tattoos sharing a hot spring with our recovering hero. Starts out fairly normal, but then the tattoos start moving and Jubei trips balls. I'm assuming this is from some kind of hallucination, but I don't know how she did it. Magic, I guess. He's knocked out of it thanks to a surprise shuriken to the arm and quickly confronts the woman, but she escapes because gross snake magic stuff. Ew, that's just nasty. Turns out the old man from before, whose name is Dakuan, threw the shuriken and tells Jubei it was coated in a special poison that will kill him in 24 hours unless he kills the 8 demons, then he'll give him the cure. Which might sound redundant with the whole group hunting him anyway, but it's another reason for our somewhat detached hero to jump into action and to actually get him on the right path, I guess. As the two travel along a river, they discuss about a hidden gold mine and a bit of Jubei's past. 5 years ago, the Yamashiro ninja clan found a gold mine and gave its contents to the Dark Shogun, who planned to overthrow the Tokugawa shogunate. In order to cover up the location of the mine, the team that discovered it was ordered to kill each other, and Jubei was forced to kill his allies since he was part of the clan. In revengeance, he decapitated Himuro Genma, who was ironically the head of the Yamashiro ninja clan, and left to become a wandering mercenary. However, Dakuan, who happens to be a Tokugawa spy, tells him that Genma is still alive and leading the demons. So now Jubei's got 3 motivations in this movie: being hunted, poison, and finalizing revenge. Jeez, how much motivation does one guy need to kill a bunch of weirdos? Speaking of weirdos, Jubei finds a shrine and has another encounter with the snake lady, Benisato. Only now... Oh no. So, covered in snakes, Jubei tells her the only people with him are Dakuan and Kagero, who just shows up out of nowhere and places a knife to her neck. In retaliation, I'm not making this up, Benisato has a snake come out of her vagina and bite Kagero. Alright, shedding her skin is one thing. Manipulating snakes, that kind of makes sense, but this is just ridiculous. And it's a fairly lengthy snake, so this just makes me question so much. 1. Does she always keep a snake inside her squeeze box? 2. How does she get it up in her cha-cha in the first place? Does she let it go in head first and just turn around inside? 3. Is it uncomfortable? Because I'd imagine keeping a living reptile stored inside one's bearded clam all the time would feel very awkward. 4. Does she still feed it while it's inside her furry taco, or does she just let it out first? 5. Does she enjoy it because that snake looks very moist. Yes, I did overanalyze this scene as an excuse to say a bunch of funny slang words for hoo-ha. Honey pot, panty hamster, meat curtains, love tunnel, pocketbook, poontang, lobster pot, velcro triangle. Okay, I'm done now. She got electrocuted. On the right side, the snake doesn't affect Kagero because she's a poison-tasting kunoichi, and she's pretty much a walking vial of toxins. Thanks to this, anyone who even kisses her is poisoned and dies pretty quickly. This is partially how Jubei was able to kill Tessai earlier. The next few fights happen back to back, so let's just speed through it. The next guy is the worst one, and I just want to get him out of the way because it's disgusting, because his weapon is wasps, and that would be okay, kind of, if his body wasn't the beehive. Why? Jubei makes him fall in the water, causing all the bugs to tear him apart from the inside, which is just... that's just the worst way to go I've ever seen in an anime. Kagero sees the gross, manipulated corpse of her leader on a cliff, which blows up and sends the two over the edge without any visible means of ignition. How the heck did it blow up? The next fight kind of illustrates my main issue with this movie. Probably not something that really matters in a movie like this, but I need to bring it up. When Jubei and Kagero get back on the cliff, the next demon is waiting for them. His name is Mujuro Utsutsu. That is a very awkward name to pronounce. And his fight may be one of my favorites in the movie. But at the same time, it made me realize how lacking the story is. Which isn't necessarily a complaint, but it's a reason I don't see myself claiming this movie as any kind of classic, if people even refer to Ninja Scroll as a classic. Let's use video games for an analogy. In terms of storytelling, probably the most important part of a movie, imagine Studio Ghibli films are like RPGs, which isn't hard, because, you know, Ni no Kuni's a thing. They're very personal, detailed films, entirely reliant on their world and characters as well as their top-notch presentation. Even their more action-oriented fare like Princess Mononoke, Porco Rosso, Nausicaa of the Valley of Wind, and even some parts of Spirited Away are still based more on story and emotion. Meanwhile, Ninja Scroll is like playing the arcade mode of a fighting game. As in, the arcade machines popular when this movie was made. Pop in a quarter, pick a character, go through a string of loosely connected battles, and fight the overpowered boss at the end. Boom, end screen. And while a Ninja Scroll fighting game would be awesome, the structure doesn't make for a very fulfilling movie, at least in my opinion. Nowhere is this feeling more typified for me than this fight. It's a classic setup of two master swordsmen dueling in a bamboo forest. I mean, that's just cool. Plus, he's blind, which makes me think he's a reference to Zatoichi. No flashy powers, just two warriors in a duel to the death. And it lasts less than 2 minutes. I timed it. Mujuro has the least screen time of any member of the 8 demons, which is super disappointing to me, because I like his design. It's simple, clean, and old school. I would have really liked to know more about him, or at least have the fight last longer, but he just shows up like, hey Jubei, I'm here to fight you. Jubei's like, clash, clang, clash, dead, fights are well animated, but I don't know. I guess that's just something to expect in movies like this. Right after that, the group arrives at the town where the demons are handing off the gold. While Jubei chases after another demon, Kagero threatens Dakuan to tell her the antidote, but surprise! Jubei was actually tricked and Kagero is ninja napped. With the sun setting, Jubei heads off to save her for the 3rd time in this movie, while the kidnapper... What? Anyway, he gets there, the color scheme is very red, which makes this fight very visually distinct, and he fights a mind-controlled Kagero, which doesn't last long because the supposedly elite superpowered ninja he's fighting thought it was a good idea to retract his chain claw thing while still holding Jubei's sword. I mean, holy crap, these guys are stupid sometimes. Next thing you know, Kagero is all, hey, I know I just tried to kill you while being mind-controlled, but you want to play hide the Futomaki role? She says Dakuwan told her the only way to cure Jubei's poison is for him to do a few two-person push-ups with a poison-tasting kunoichi. The reason given is to counteract the poison with more poison? which makes absolutely no sense from a medical perspective. If anything, that would just kill him faster. You don't lose weight by eating nothing but cheeseburgers. According to what they say in the movie, just kissing her is enough to kill someone, so I assume this means being in contact with any of her bodily fluids would give the same effect. In fact, just a little bit later when she dies, because of course, the two kiss, and that's apparently enough to cure him. So why was she told the only way to cure him is to do the horizontal greased weasel tango? He doesn't even give her the hot beef injection. He just holds her for a few seconds and goes to do his mission. I mean, she's totally okay with needing to ride the baloney pony since they've fallen in love over the course of a single day for stupid reasons, but if she didn't join up, Jubei would be screwed. Ironically, Dakuan gives some stupid reason for a ninja being able to accurately read someone's heart or something at the end of the movie, but considering he saw either of them for maybe a couple seconds while they were running from a rock monster, I don't see how he could have predicted Kagero would be up for getting her bean waxed. But she is, so why did Jubei not want to put some email in the spam folder? Probably because it's Edo, Japan, and email doesn't exist, but maybe he doesn't want to risk her screaming like a howler monkey when they're just on the outskirts of enemy territory. I mean, we've seen how good he is with a sword. Whatever the reason, he starts sneaking around without corking the onion? What are these euphemisms? Okay, enough of that. Let's be honest, they probably just wanted to show her naked again before the group gets to work. While Jubei and Dakuan discuss their plan to sink the ship full of gold, Kagero goes to meet with her clan's lord, but surprise again! It's actually Genma, and he stabs her, which makes Jubei angry. After a somewhat lazy fight sequence, he takes on Yurimaru, the pretty boy from the start of the movie. Side note, he actually does have some kind of character development. He is somewhat a little bit, tiny bit fleshed out. Since they mention he's gay and wants to be with Genma, now I'm probably not the best judge of appearances, but I feel he could do much better. This is revealed when Zakuro, the explosives expert, tries to flirt with him and he punches her. So obviously, she rigged an explosive rat in a storehouse full of gunpowder to kill him. I feel like she doesn't take rejection well. And then his arm lands where she is, and she's just like, hey, that one guy blew up, what a loser, and throws it in the ocean. That's just... oh, that is amazing. This allows Jubei to escape and find Kagero, who's on the verge of death. She confesses, they kiss, and again, this cures Jubei's poison for stupid reasons. He then sends her off in a boat, probably to sink to the bottom of the ocean at some point. Decked out in her headband and ripping off his sleeves, he rides a horse to the boat to finish the mission. While this is happening, Genma reveals his secret plan to take the gold for himself, to build up a massive army and take Japan for himself. Of course, it's never easy with these guys. Dakuan finally contributes to the mission by teaming up with Jubei to blow up Zakuro and set the ship on fire, which finally brings us to the confrontation between Jubei and the immortal Genma. It's a pretty great fight, with Genma clearly being more physically powerful, Jubei needing to rely on every trick he has, and oh right, they're surrounded by fire! Every fight in this movie is pretty great, but this is definitely the one with the most effort put in, which makes sense, because it's the climax of the movie. I especially like when Jubei repeatedly headbutts Genma, just smashing the guy's face in with the jewel thing on Kagero's headband. It shows how desperate and angry he is at the one who caused him to lose all the people he cared about. But since he can't be killed, Genma just gets back up for more. This doesn't last long, since all the gold is melted and practically drowns him, which has to be one of the most painful ways to go. Although the wasp thing, I still think is worse. With Genma now sinking into the sea, Jubei stands on the wreckage of the ship and tells Dakuan to go sit on it before returning to his wandering life of being a vagabond. That's Ninja Scroll! Does it live up to its reputation as a great, if gross and violent anime movie? Kind of. Like I said, the structure of the movie isn't really something I look for in a movie or a show or really anything unless I'm in the mood where I just want to watch some cool fights, which the movie does pretty well. Honestly, if you're looking for a very adult-oriented action movie, I'd say Ninja Scroll is something I'd recommend. The action is smooth and well choreographed, the soundtrack is really understated to give it a more grounded atmosphere, and I like how the story is essentially a small group doing something to affect the country at large. that's something an actual ninja would do. Again, just tonally, I like it. So while it accomplishes what it was made for, I can't help but feel there are many other anime movies I'd watch instead, even contemporary ones like Ghost in the Shell or Akira, which I know is an unfair comparison. While I personally don't consider it to be one of the best anime films I've seen, I can see why it's so highly regarded by critics and fans for what it is. And I just realized the last review I made was about Kingdom Hearts 3. And the last movie review I did was about Professor Layton. So this was certainly different. Why'd I talk about it? Because variety is fun, and what's more guaranteed to bring variety than seeing a snake slither out of a cotton candy canoe? Who comes up with this?